Welcome to this video lecture. Myself Atul Kumar, working as an assistant professor in Department of Computer Science, Rajiv Gandhi Memorial, Government College, Jogindarnagar. In this video lecture, I will discuss about flowcharts. So, flowchart is a pictorial representation of an algorithm. Flowchart uses different kind of symbols that are the boxes of different shapes to represent different type of instructions. So actual instructions are written in flowchart within a boxes. These boxes are connected by solid lines having an arrow marks to indicate the exact sequence in which instructions to be executed. The process of drawing a flowchart for an algorithm is called as flowcharting. So these are the basic flowchart symbols. So to denote a terminal end or start of the flowchart, this kind of symbol is used to denote input output. A parallelogram is used to denote processing, actual processing of a program. A rectangle is used, and to make a decision in the flowchart, it this kind of diamond box is used, and flow lines are used to connect uh, one box from the another box, and these are the connectors if your flowchart have more than one pages. So to connect a flowchart of one page to another page, we use connectors as a symbol. So this symbol is used as a terminal. The name of this symbol is terminal, and it defines the starting and ending point of the flowchart. The second symbol is this one. This is used to initialization, and it is used for the initialization of memory space for data processing. The this one is input output symbol. This one is used for inputting of data for processing and printing out of processed data. The next symbol is a rectangle, and this symbol is represented as a process symbol, and it is used for the manipulation of data, assignments, and mathematical computations. These symbols are used to denote the flow lines, and it defines the logical sequence of the program. It points to external symbol to be performed. The next symbol is on page connector symbol, and it connects to the flowchart to avoid connection on the same page. The next symbol is off page connector symbol. It connects the flowchart on different page to avoid the connection. Next symbol is a diamond like symbol, and it is a decision symbol, and it processes conditions using relational operators. These symbols are used for trapping and filtering of data. So the example of decision symbols are like in this example, we have some flow, and in this decision symbol we have a statement is I equal to 10. If this uh, condition is true, then the flow goes in yes direction. If the condition is false, then the flow goes in the no direction. The second is a three branch decision symbol. In this we compare A and B, and in this we have if A is greater than B, then the flow goes in the right direction. If A is less than B, then the flow goes in the left direction. If A equal to B, then flow goes in the bottom direction. This one is a decision symbol example for multi-way branch decision. In this we have a flow like this, and we have a decision, and we have a statement I equal to question mark. We have a value of I that comes from a bird, and it checks whether which is the what is the value of I. Depending upon the value of I, if I equal to 0, then the flow goes in this direction. If I equal to 1, then flow goes in I equal to 1 direction, and so on. So this one is a example of multi-way branch decision. So next is the flow chart to show whether a number is even or odd. So we all know when the number is even, if it is divisible by 2 and the remainder is 0, then the number is even, otherwise it is odd. So firstly we start the flow chart. We represent the input number in this kind of uh, box, and then we have a decision in this decision box. If number %2 is represented for a remainder, if number %2 equal to 0, means if this value, if remainder is 0, if it equal to if it satisfied, then if yes, this means that the number is even. If this condition is false, then it goes in this direction, no direction, and it display the number is odd, and after this there is a end of the flow chart. Next flow chart is to represent or to find the largest of three numbers. Then we have a start of flow chart. Then in this we read three numbers A, B and C. Next there is a decision box. In decision box we have a statement, is A greater than B. If this condition is true, then flow goes in this right direction, and if this condition is false, then the flow goes in the left direction. If the condition is true, then there is also a decision table. Next, is A greater than C. If this condition is true, then the next statement is executed, print A is the largest number. So A is the largest number. As we know, A is greater than B and A is greater than C, then A is the largest number. If this condition is false, then flow goes in the left direction and it will check whether is B is greater than C. If B is greater than C, then if this condition is satisfied, means then it will print B is the largest number, and if this condition fails, then it will print C is the largest number, and at the last flow chart or your program ends. Next we have a question. A student appears in the examination which consists of 10 subjects, each subject having maximum marks of 100. The roll number of a student, his and her name, and the marks obtained by him in various subjects are supplied as a input data. So we have to input the roll number, we have to input his name, and marks obtained by him or her in various subject as a input data. So we have to draw a flow chart for the algorithm to calculate the percentage marks obtained by the student in the examination, and then to print it along with his or her roll number and name. So firstly we start the flow chart, then we read the input data. In input data we have to read a roll number of the student, we have to read the name of the student and marks obtained by the students in the various subjects. Next we have to find the percentage of the percentage obtained by the student in examination. So firstly we have to add all the marks of all the subject and denote it as a total. So we have to find the total of the marks obtained by the student. The next step is also we have to find the percentage, and to process to find the percentage, the formula is percentage is equal to total by 10. Here why this is the formula, because we obtained total as such, sum of all marks divided by total number of subjects here is 10. So and each subject having maximum marks of 100. So 10 into 100 is 1000. 10 into 100 is 1000, multiply by 100 to find the percentage, and we cut this. So total by 10 is equal to, percentage is equal to total by 10 is the percentage of obtained, and then we have to write the output data that contains the name of the student, the marks obtained by the student, roll number of the student, and percentage obtained by the student, and then we have to stop. Next we have a flow chart. We have a question like this: 50 students of a class appear in the examination of as in example 3. Draw a flow chart for the algorithm to calculate and print the percentage of marks obtained by each student along with his or her roll number and name. So the question is same, but in the previous example we have only a data of one student, but in this case we have a data of 50 students, and we have to calculate the percentage obtained by each student in the examination. So to start with this, we start the algorithm, we read the input data, and then add all the marks as in the example 3, and then we have to find the percentage and write the output data as in example 3. But after this there is a loop to the read input data. Firstly start with the first student, then its marks and percentage is calculated, and then it will go again to read the data of the next student. Then the same process or same flow of instructions are executed to find the percentage of second student, and so on. But the problem with this flow chart is that there is no exit condition. So once we execute the program, there will be no exit condition, as in the example we have only 50 students, but this kind of flow chart works infinitely or endlessly, as there is no exit condition in this kind of flow chart. So how to resolve this kind of problem? To resolve this problem, we have to firstly start, and we have just make a counter, and counter is initialized to 0. Then we read the input data, add all the marks of all subjects giving the total, then find the percentage as described in the example 3, write the output data, add 1 to the count. Now we add a decision box here and checks, and the instruction in the decision box is count equal to 50. If the count equal to 50, yes, then we have to stop. If the count is not equal to 50, then it again goes to read the data of the next student. Again the step of instructions are executed, and again it checks for the count until it reaches 50. If the count is equal to 50, then this condition becomes true, and the program stops after processing the data of 50th student. So next is the flow chart to display even numbers between 1 to 100. So we have to find all the even numbers and between 1 to 100. So we start with the flow chart, and then assign or initialize number is equal to num is equal to 1. You can take any variable. You can take here I equal to 1 here. Then the next step is the decision box here, and in the decision box, while num equal to 100 reached, this one is the condition inside a decision box. If this one is yes, then we exit or stop the program. If this one is no, then we check whether if number %2 equal to 0. This means that if the remainder of the number is 0 or not. If this is true, then print the number. Then this means that this number is even number and we have to print that. If the number is not divisible by 2 and the remainder is not 0, then we have not to print that number, and in that case we have to just increment that number, and after incremented again check whether the number is equal to 100. If it is yes, then stop, otherwise the same processing goes up to 100 numbers, and all the numbers even numbers are displayed between 1 to 100. Next is the flow chart to calculate the even number between 0 to 99. This example and this example is same, but the logic is different. In this case, we divide the number or we find the remainder of the number, and if the remainder of the number is 0, then we print that number. But in this case, the question is same, but the logic is different, and hence the flow chart is also different. We start the program, then I equal to 0, we initialize I equal to 0, then we in the next step we increment I by 2, and then we process or write or display I. In this case we display I. Suppose I is equal to 0 firstly, and then in the next step 0 plus 2 is I is equal to 2, and then we displayed the value of I, that means 2, and in the next step we checks the value of I. If I is less than equal to 100, 2 is less than equal to 100, this one is true. Again we increment I by 2, then I becomes 4, write the value of I, then 4 is displayed, and after that 4 is less than equal to 100, again this is true. Then this loop continues until I becomes here 100. When the value of I is 100 here, this one is also true. Then we when I is equal to 100, then this one is less than equal to 100, this one is true, and then again the value of the I is becomes 100 plus 2, 102, and then it writes 102, and then if checks 102 is less than equal to 100, this is false, and then this is the end of the flowchart. But we see here it will print up to 102. So there is a problem in logic. We have to display here only up to 99, means 99 or 100. Suppose we have to display here up to 100. So the last number to be displayed here is 100, but in this logic the last number displayed here is 102. So how to do this? To do this, we have to just cut here equal to marks, and the condition we have to apply here is if I less than 100. In this case, suppose I is equal to 99 and the condition is true, 99 is less than 100, then if suppose I is equal to 98, 99 never comes because we increment I by 2. So 98 is less than 100, so condition is true. Then 98 is incremented by 2, then it becomes 100, then it displays the value of 100. Then again when 100 is less than 100, this condition becomes false, and there is a end of the program. This one is the algorithm for calculate even numbers from 0 to 100. Next is the to display the sum of even numbers between 1 to n. N is any number. Suppose we have to display n is equal to 10. So this is the generalized kind of flow chart in which we display the sum of even numbers between 1 to n. Suppose n is equal to 10, so we have to display all sum of even numbers between 1 to 10. So firstly we start the program, then read limit of numbers, that is n, and then assign we assign a value I is equal to 1 and sum is equal to 0. And the next statement, we have a decision box. Inside the decision box we have to check whether I is equal to n, whether the end of or exit of program reached or not. If it is reached, then we have to print the sum of even numbers, that is sum. If it is not reached, then in the next decision box we check if I percentage 2 means the remainder of a number is equal to 0. If it is 0, if it is true, then we compute sum is equal to sum plus I. So initially the value of sum is 0. When I is added to sum, the value of sum, suppose I is equal to 2, then 2 plus 0 is 2. So sum becomes 2. Again we compute I is equal to, in the next step, I is equal to I plus 1. I is incremented. Again we check whether the I is equal to n reached. If this is not reached, this condition is checked. If it is false, then we the compute sum condition is not executed, and the control goes directly to compute I is equal to I plus 1, and at the end print sum of even numbers are printed. In the next we have a flow chart to find the area of the circle. So in case of to find the area of circle, we know the area of circle is pi r square. So we have to get input as a radius. So input to this algorithm is radius r of the circle, and expected output is area of the circle. So start of the flow chart, then we read r, that is the input, and we input the value of r, and then in the next step there is a processing, and in processing area equal to 3.14 into r, because the formula is pi r square, and at the last then print the area, and there is a end of flow chart. Next flow chart is to convert temperature that is in Fahrenheit to Celsius. So we must know the formula how to convert a Fahrenheit to Celsius, and the program and the flow chart is very easy. We firstly start the flow chart and then read the value of F, and then the Celsius conversion of Fahrenheit to Celsius, the formula is C equal to 5 by 9 multiply by F minus 32. In this processing, this one is a processing, so we already read the value of F. So F is we put F value of F here, and the calculated value C is the Celsius temperature in Celsius. Again in the next step, the value that is calculated C is printed by this symbol, that is a display symbol, and at the end the flow chart ends. Next is the flow chart in which to find the sum of two numbers. Firstly we input two numbers and print their sum. So we start and then read two numbers A and B. In the next step, C is equal to A plus B is the processing, and then we print C, and then there is a end of the flow chart. Next is the algorithm to find greater number among two numbers. In the previous slides I have discussed the greatest among three numbers. This one is the greatest among two numbers, and this one is very easy. Firstly start and then read two numbers, and in the third step there is a decision box. It checks if A is greater than B. If it is true, then it will print A. If it is false, then it will print B, and there is a end of the program. This one is the algorithm for flow chart. Then start, read two numbers A and B. If A greater than B, then print A, otherwise it will print B, and there is the end of algorithm. Next we have, there are different kinds of levels of flow chart. So first level is macro flow chart level. In this only outlines of the main segments of program are detailed here, and less details are not shown here. But if we want to show more details, then there is a flowchart that is a micro flowchart, and it is a flowchart with more details, and there are no set of standards on the amount of details that should be provided in the flowchart. So there are no standards at till date sets how much details are to be provided in the flowchart. So this one is the example of a micro flowchart. This one is a kind of macro flowchart, and this one is a kind of micro flowchart. In case of macro flowchart, only the external or main segments of the programs are displayed, like S add marks of all the subjects giving the total. But in this case of micro flowchart, even a smaller details, that how variables are initialized, how total is equal to 0, and how to we add each marks to a total, and so it will give you the detailed view of your functioning of your program. But in this case, this one is actually the generalized way to solve a particular problem in case of macro flowchart. So there are different rules to flowchart or to draw a flowchart. The first rule is to first chart the main logic or mainline logic and then incorporate details. Secondly, maintain a consistent level of detail for a given flowchart. Do not chart every detail of the program. A reader who is interested in greater details can refer to the program itself. So we have to just draw the important details of a program. We have not to draw each and every variable, that this variable is used, or how the variable is counted or increased its value. These kind of details are not to be drawn in a flowchart. The words in the flowchart symbols should be common statement and easy to understand. Next is be consistent in using names and variables in the flowchart. Go from left to right and top to bottom in constructing the flowchart. Keep the flowchart as simple as possible. Crossing of flow lines should be avoided as far as practicable. If new flowcharting page is needed, it is recommended that the flowchart be broken at an input or output point. Properly labeled connectors should be used to link the portion of flowchart on different pages. So different if your flowchart exceeds more than one page, so there is properly labeling connectors should be used to connect different pages flowcharts. So there are different kinds of advantages. As we see, flowchart are the pictorial representation of an algorithm, so it results in a better communication, proper program documentation. It results in the efficient program coding, and we can easily debug the program if your flowchart is of good design, and we can easily test, or systematic testing is very easy with the help of flowcharts. So however, there are some limitations of flowcharts also. So drawing of flowcharts are very time consuming and very it's a very laborious task to draw a flowchart. So redrawing of flowcharts for incorporating changes and modification is a very difficult task. There is no standards determining the amount of details, yes, that should be included in the flowcharts. So next, you have some assignments. You have to draw a flowchart to print odd numbers up to 100. Next assignment is draw a flowchart to find smallest among three numbers. Draw a flowchart to check whether the number is prime or not. draw a flowchart to find a factorial of a given number and draw a flowchart to find the roots of a quadratic equation. Here quadratic equation, and I am giving hint here for a number, whether the number is prime or not. We must know what are prime numbers. Prime numbers are those numbers which are divisible by themselves or only 1. Suppose that is 2 is a prime number, 3 is a prime number, so 5 is a prime number, so 7 is also a prime number, 11 is a prime number. As if in this case of third assignment, if suppose we enter a number 5, the output should be number is prime, and if we enter a number 6, the output should be number is not prime. So we actually check for all the numbers that in between 1 to, suppose we have input a number 6, and we have to check from 1 to 6 whether the number 6 is divisible by 1 to 6 or not. If it is divisible, that means number is not a prime. Suppose we enter a number 5 and we check from 2 to 4. If it is divisible by 2, no, 5 is not divisible by 2, remainder is not 0. 5 is divisible by 3, no. 5 is divisible by 4, no. So 5 is divisible by 5 and only 1, so it is a prime number. So in this way you can draw a flow chart to check whether the number is prime or not. Thanks for watching this video lecture.